My name is Garrett Hill. I'm the World Skate Head Judge for Street Skateboarding, and we're going to be focusing on the 2025 KITAKYUSHU event. So getting started, I want to give a shout out to Kieran Brody, who is our oldest competitor. It's always inspirational for me to see guys that are my age still competing and getting out there and doing it. So shout out to you, Kieran. The judges really liked your line. It was great to see you out there. We appreciate you being there. So one of the lines that I want to point out from Open Qualifier, which really stood out to the judges, was the line from Jessica Reddy from New Zealand. So there are certain lines that we like to pick out and almost make examples of to reinforce concepts that we've stated in the past. And Jessica Reddy gave us that opportunity to do that in this competition. She got a 30.07 and never hit the big section even once and still had a bail on her run. How did she get such a high score for that kind of a run? She did really technically difficult tricks that nobody else was doing. Please understand that if you are doing tricks that separate your skating from other people, it is going to set you ahead of the other riders. She's doing 360 flip off of the ledge into the bank, nollie backside heel flip on the wedge to wedge bump, switch flip over the pyramid top. She cased it, but it's still, no one else is doing that. So when nobody else is doing tricks like that, you don't have to hit the big section. You can still get a good score. I also want to give a shout out to Manny Santiago. It's such a pleasure to watch Manny skate. I've watched him just year after year get better and better. He understands skateboard competitions so well. I really like the way that he started his line. Not everybody has to start their line with a big section hubba trick or rail trick in order to have a good score. So I appreciated him starting from a different spot. Unfortunately, with the kickflip crooked grind bail at the end, it didn't come together for him this time, but I know we'll see him again. He comes back stronger every single event. So thank you, Manny. Thank you for representing Puerto Rico. That was awesome to see. So moving on from qualifier into quarterfinals, I want to give a shout out to Yuanling Zhu from China. Her run was really, really good. She ended up placing 6th going into semifinals, and she deserved it, man. The switch 50-50 that she did on the hubba, the judges really like that. Seeing the direction that and just the trajectory that women's skateboarding is going in, I think we're going to need to see more of this in order to have the women set themselves apart from other people, because it's just like doing a switch 50-50 on the big hubba in your run. That'll do it, man. Like, you want to set yourself apart, switch grind the hubba, switch frontside nose grind, switch tail slide. Like, I expect that we'll start seeing these, and if any of the women can get these kinds of tricks down, man, they're gonna have such a leg up on the competition moving forward into LA. So great job, great coaching, great strategy, really, really cool skating. I want to give some props to Jake Alardi because, wow, this run is so good in this part of the competition. Starting with a big spin front blunt on the big rail and then ending with a cab back tail is such a risky move, and Jake is really genuinely known for getting in the most amount of tricks. He just skates the whole course so fast, and he's able to do that because he's smart, not only with his strategy on use of course, but he's a very well-rounded skateboarder, and he can do tricks like backside tail slides on the quarter pipes and still retain all of his speed. And his stamina is great, obviously, to be able to do that, but it's really, really smart to use the course the way that he does. If you can get tricks in all over the place and make sure that you're putting in a highlight moment in the middle of that, which he did with that blunt stall kickflip. I've said it so much. The quarter pipes are your friend. They are so important for so many reasons. And this run is a really good example of that. He starts it strong, he ends it strong, and he has a highlight in the middle, uses the course well. What else could we ask for? It's the 3rd highest scored run of the day, 64.82. well deserved. So those were some of the key points from qualifier and quarterfinal. And now the game changes, moving into semifinal, where we introduce single tricks into the mix. I want to give a shout out to Funa Nakayama from Japan. It's always a pleasure to see Funa skate. She always comes with the coolest tricks. We always expect to see that signature front crook. So it was really shocking to see her mess that up in her first run, because I don't think I've ever seen her miss a front crook, which is pretty amazing odds after all these years. But she got redemption on it for sure with the front crook on the shootout really tall red ledge, that is for sure. We gave that a 78.74. Again, we're seeing those global reductions. We're seeing these tricks that normally scored in the 80s come down to the 70s to make room. I think the judges feel unanimously like it needs to be something unique to be into the 80s. If it's just a straight front crook, that's a hard trick, but it doesn't necessarily mean that should be in the 80s. If it's something like a front crook shove it or a front crook fakie, there needs to be that's where your heads need to be at, the skaters and the coaches. How do I make this trick almost, how do I reinvent it? Or how do I add on to it to make it new or make it different? Because if everyone else is making their tricks harder and changing, then you got to do it too. But props to Funa, that front crook was really sick. I want to give a shout out to João Lucas from Brazil. This run had 2 bails in it, and unfortunately that was kind of game over. But dang, this run was off to a good start with switch over crook on the handrail. We had high hopes for this score, and I guarantee you this would have been up in the mix if he would have been able to land his tricks. But yeah, starting your run with a switch over crook, that was sick. So Taiga unfortunately had a bail in his run in semifinals, and it wasn't enough to edge him into finals. But I want to give some props to this big spin hurricane to forward that he did, because that was so psycho. That was such a bonkers trick, and you know, it got an 85.93, and that's in that upper echelon category of scores that we were giving, because the judges absolutely loved it. So it was so unfortunate that he didn't make it through, but he should be super proud of that skating, because those tricks, like, those are wild. So props to him for that. Great move. So with this new format change, the 2-3-2 format, this just goes to show that if you aren't able to land one of your single tricks, you're out of the mix. And unfortunately that did happen to Yuto in this competition. He had the 3rd highest scoring run score of semifinals, and that set him up incredibly well going into the single trick section. If he would have been able to land his trick in the single trick section, he would have been there in the finals for sure. But unfortunately, depending on the day, that's why these competitions are so exciting, because anybody truly can win this competition. Yuto is a double gold winning athlete. Like, this dude knows how to get into the finals. And with this new format, truly, if you're on for that day, like, it's your day, man, and you're gonna move forward. But incredible skating from Yuto. Obviously, he'll be back in the next competition, shredding as he always does. So moving into the finals, this is where the judges really nitpick the runs, and we really, really focus on all of the different judging criteria. All right, looking at our second place run, we've got Yumika Oda. Very cool to see her on the podium. This run, at that 71, it made a lot of sense to put this run there. It started really strong and ended strong, especially with the overcrook on the handrail. Nobody else is doing that, man. So congrats to her. It was great skating and great strategy.
The front side, blunt side, getting the speed. get back up to that quarter pipe and come back in. A little bit of a trick miss there, maybe.
Yeah, she rolled past that ledge where she was doing the crooked grind, and I saw her doing crook nollie flip in practice. So I kind of thought she was going to give that to us, but she might have something big for the finish.
Oh, yes, she has.
All right, so let's talk about our top 3 podium single tricks. Starting with Chloe Covell with the front blunt, big spin out. This was the only 90 that we saw in the entire women's competition, and what an amazing trick to do. That was the first time any of the judges had seen that in competition, so props to Chloe, man. That's such a sick trick. She did it perfect. It fit the criteria. That's what we're looking for. It checked all the boxes, you know what I mean? Like a trick that we haven't seen before, a trick that's technically difficult, done on the big section, and done perfect. What more could we ask for? You know what I mean? It's a hard in and a hard out. Front blunt big spin. Super, super cool. All right, and our first place winner, Ibuki Matsumoto, kickflip frontside nose grind on the drop ledge. Such a gnarly trick. So some insight on how the trick ledger works and what the judges are looking at. We know that we gave her an 84.85 in semifinals for doing a kickflip frontside 50-50 on that same spot. So it only made sense to bump it up a few points. Doesn't make any sense to bump it up like 6 or 7 points because a kickflip frontside nose grind isn't 6 or 7 points harder than doing a kickflip frontside 50-50, but there has to be some increase. And we thought that this was a more than fair increase. And it just so happened that that was enough to edge her into first place. And that's what we look at. I want to give a congratulations to Team Japan for not only their skating ability, their riders are so impressive, but the coaching and the strategy going into these events is just phenomenal. This is what everybody should be doing. They fulfilled every single category of the judging criteria in Kitakyushu, and it's not a surprise to me whatsoever that Japan held the podium spot because they really showed up in the men's category. So yeah, congrats to you guys. It was very, very well earned.
Down to that last trick. Heel flip front. Oh wow, his mind.
I think Kitakyushu was a great example of showing the overall trend of what we're going to be seeing as far as what constitutes as a 90s score. 90s moving forward will only be reserved for the most special tricks. And I want to give a shout out to Matias Del Olio for making it into the 90s with the half cab nose slide and nollie 270 heel flip out. I mean, my God, you can't do it any better than the way that he did it. To roll away from that trick, I mean, with the speed that he rolled away was wild. That was one of the raddest tricks I've ever seen at a competition. So I really want to tip my hat to Matias for this because it was so sick. And it felt good to put this trick up into the 90s. So congrats, Matias. So coming into the single trick section, obviously this was neck and neck between Sora and Kyrie for that top spot. This was one of the most entertaining switches in podium that I've seen in a long time because I'm telling you, the bail that Sora took on his first attempt, I thought for sure he was out of the mix. I did not think that it was going to be possible for him to do this alley-oop backside 180 5-0 down the hubba. And when he did it, we knew that it was going to be a high score. It was just going to come down to the way that he did it. And I'm telling you right now, if he didn't do it as perfect as you possibly could do this trick, Kyrie would have won this competition. And that really was the biggest turning point. We looked at that trick from 6 different angles in slow-mo, and we could not find a single thing wrong with it. The alley-oop in was perfect. The way that he landed on the ground was absolutely perfect. His tail didn't touch the whole entire time. It was perfectly balanced. He got in the very top of the hubba and he landed it. No wheel drag, no toe drag. It was absolutely bolts. You cannot land that trick any better than he did it. And it felt very fair to give that score a 90. And that's just so happened to be what he needed to win the competition. So in closing, I want to say congratulations to all of our podium skateboarders. And I want to say congratulations to everybody that entered this competition because, man, this was not an easy one to win. I think that we're going to have a very successful season moving ahead. And I think that with our switch ups in the format, I think it's going to be a very interesting season. And I can't wait to see what you guys do next, man. So thank you. My name is Garrett Hill. I'm the head judge for World Skate, and it has been a pleasure. We'll see you guys next time.